everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker, Mr. Phani. He's currently the Associate Director of Tech Marketing at Zeta. Phani has a fascinating journey spanning over a decade, during which he has built teams, crafted products, and addressed critical challenges in both the consumer and enterprise domains using technology. So his experience across sales, management consulting, product marketing, and developer relation roles have given him a unique perspective and expertise that is quite rare in the industry. His multifaceted journey through five industries and six functional domains is a testament to his adaptability and ability to thrive in diverse environments. Today, he will be enlightening us on how artificial intelligence is being used in companies. So let's extend a warm welcome to Mr. Fani. Thank you so much for joining us today, being here with us.
Thanks a lot, Swapnil. Thanks for the warm introduction.
So, starting with the basic of the conversation. So, the topic of of today's conversation is going to be how AI is being used in companies. So, just to set the tone, let's start with defining what AI is actually.
Pretty much, there are kind of thanks for asking for that. And let me start on this. Pretty much, there's a wide variety of definitions which have been floating out in the market. And to be technically right, artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science dealing with the simulation of intelligent behavior. Basically, artificial intelligence systems typically demonstrate behaviors associated with human intelligence, such as planning, learning, reasoning, problem solving, knowledge representation, perception, motion, and to some extent, even social intelligence and creativity. So, anything, this is a very broader way to actually define it. Reason being that now you have seen AI in different kind of a forms and shapes and materials. So to give it all a complete umbrella where it can all be encompassed together, I think this is a better way to put it out, where it is something which simulates the intelligence of a human's behavior, basically.
So, to extend upon that question, how does machine learning and deep learning come into play? What is ML? What is deep learning?
So machine learning is a subset of AI which uses computer algorithms to analyze data and make intelligent decisions based on what it has to learn without being explicitly programmed. These machine learning programs, algorithms, are basically trained over a large set of data, and then they form as examples. They don't really form a rule-based algorithms, but basically they learn from a lot of data sample set, and then they try to mimic that behavior which they are kind of utilizing it. Whereas when you look at deep learning, it's a specialized subset of machine learning. So we went with AI, then we are talking about machine learning, and now deep learning is a subset of machine learning itself. It uses layered neural networks to simulate human decision making. So basically, it'll be able to categorize or a thing if you leave it a large data set, right? Like you tell them about a pool of data information which has been available or objects being available, it will be able to either categorize them, put them into subsets, smaller subsets, and try to identify. Similar example, if I have to take it into your real life, it would be that you training um, a machine on the basis of images of a cat and a dog, maybe you show it 5 to 10 different types of cat images, it will try to identify that okay, the cat looks like this, it has a tail, the face shape and features look like this. So the next time when you draw something very close to it, it'll start identifying what a cat looks like, and it'll start identifying what a dog looks like. So there is again supervised learning and unsupervised learning, I think, but that's going more deeper into that knowledge. But essentially, to we what we did was to take the entire human cognitive sciences, and then we broke it down into different parts of sciences which a machine can actually start learning. So there comes your machine learning, and then there comes your deep learning, which is identifying the patterns and able to understand where the problem statement is. So it is continuously learning on the job, improving on quality, The accuracy of the results are determining whether the decisions are correct or wrong. So every time the decision is right, we are trying to give it a gift, and every time it is wrong, we are trying to punish it. And that's how it's actually learning how to differentiate between the normally how where in a way where humans can identify it easily. We are trying to train a machine to understand these patterns in a better way.
So lately, all the big corporations or enterprises, they are making the noise that AI needs to be regulated, AI needs to be
Mhm.
controlled. So, what is actually the power of AI because of which people either feel too threatened or they feel that it is something that needs to be controlled, or it could be either too dangerous or make the world into a completely different state? What is actually the power of AI which organizations have been trying to tap on?
So that's there are different perspectives in which these kind of a decision making is coming through, or how people are trying to speak about it. But to leave it out in the leave out the truth bombs, right? McKinsey, going by a McKinsey report, it says that about half of the activities, not jobs, carried out by workers today could be automated, right? Jobs will be changed. More jobs than those lost or gained will be changed as machines complement human labor in the workforce. So, so essentially, where it comes to is that workers will need to have different skill set to thrive in the workplace of the future. You're thinking about in a way to actually think about the different aspects, right? You're thinking about a role reversal. You'll not be telling the machines anymore on what to do. They are they are going to learn it much faster in terms of making sure that we work together with them, right? um, AI's impact, if I compare it in the past with the past, AI's impact will be as big as the industrial revolution itself, empowering one to do work of many people. AI will be able to reach different industries. So we've already seen, we thought that this was going to be only in the field of maybe say computer sciences industries where software is being used. But today we are able to see the AI influence in agriculture, in pharmaceuticals, in transportation, in robotics, in areas in supply chain management. So a lot of these things we thought that there would not be much more changes which can come through, but we've been seeing those changes coming out. White collar job functions from coding to financial services to legal will become vastly more efficient. AI is already reducing the number of junior and mid-level software developers needed to ship new products. Generative AI, which is another part of AI, disrupts traditional roles. Like professionals will lean on AI-powered peer-to-peer channels to learn. They will be able to upskill themselves. They'll be able to navigate through newer career paths. AI will be able to transform the organizations and make critical decisions on behalf of the organization people. Um, the category definition of AI businesses will be the ones with defensibility and distribution. So if you are skilled in a particular kind of activity, you are a super specialist into it. That is something which AI might not touch at the right away, but any kind of redundant and repetitive tasks, it's already on its way to start doing those ones. The infrastructure and research layer of generative AI is where the sustainable business models currently lie, right? So there are these ones which have been identified, which have been talking about it's already affecting our day-to-day work first gradually, and then suddenly it's been affecting it. Like in the last 5 months at least, there's been a significant impact which has started occurring in the industries as such. We've seen ChatGPT revolution taking up. We've seen a lot of posts. People are getting aware about posts where they're talking about ChatGPT is a fad. There are new generative AI tools. There are other AI tools which can start doing their work. You enter into a company, say scenario of a company right now, from the security. So security is being taken care of an AI machine right now, right? From the security to your internal tasks in terms of the Excel work, the work on your documentations, the work on your presentations, the work on your images, the videos, all right, program planning, everything is now being carried on using one of the AI tools as such. So this is not to say that this is how it's going to overpower or take it over. If I look it back, like if I go back, right, how many times has this repeated in the history so far? We've seen different phases of such kind of a revolution happening with us in throughout the history. So there was, if you all remember, we all read it in our books that there was this printing press revolution which happened in the 14th century. The moment when printing press came in, it ultimately increased in literacy and access to knowledge, but at that time it created a lot of chaos and a lot of jobs were actually lost. Newer professions then started coming up, called publishing, journalism, and education as we see it right now. There was also industrial revolution which happened in the 17th century, right? Then there was automobile revolution which happened in the 19th century. So previously we used to have horse drawn transportation. Now those were replaced by, you have your cars and your buses started coming onto the roads. You had assembly line. Assembly line is basically which something which is accredited to Ford founder. He was the first person who actually introduced assembly line into companies, and it started revolutionizing the speed at which cars can be made. And later on, that supply chain management has been taken up as a subject. It has been replicated into many other industries and etc. Then even recently, coming to the recent kind of changes, right? Computers started in mid 20th century, and they have created a lot of problems. They have kind of a lot of people lost their jobs because of that. But it also created a lot of new job opportunities. What you see today as existing called programming, software development, and etc. These are all new job fields which have started out because of this revolution which happened with computers, right? And then later on, you had the internet, which came in the 20th century. Internet also affected a lot of industries when it first started out, but it also increased a lot more avenues in which money making can actually happen, and more people are able to survive on internet right now through different use cases, able to earn right now than the number of jobs which were lost previously. It's very funny, you know. There's one a biggest example, like when in 1970s, I believe, I'm not very sure about the year, when calculators were first introduced to the mass market, mathematicians actually went onto the roads saying that calculators are not doing the job right. People are it's going to take away jobs and etc. And they actually held a lot of protests against people using calculators. But cut to 50 years now, if you look at it, we even surpass the age of calculators also. If I call it correct, we are using computers more often now. But in the last 20 years, we've actually many more people have actually used calculators. They've become more educated. It actually created more jobs than the kind of a protest or the revolutions which actually happened at the time of its introduction. Essentially, the idea is that when a new technology is coming into the market, there's always a lot of resistance which actually happens through, because we do not really understand it correct. And sometimes it's rightly also because there's a lot of fad technological improvements which came up in between as well, right? We There was an IoT revolution which happened in between. There was a Bitcoin revolution which happened in between. Not to say that these things are not going to happen again, but the thing is that not everything stood the test of the times, but some of the technology stood the test of the times. And when it does over a period of 5 and 7, 10 years and etc., you should be very careful. You should understand that there is a significant pattern in which how it can continue its form, and it's going to only increase in its magnitude. So it's better to actually get adopted to it and try to be in line where you can increase your chances of revenue earning or increase your chances of job being in the job board by going along with it rather than going against it, because this is something which is not planned by a company or planned by a person, but this was essentially supposed to happen because of the kind of an advancements which we are doing right now. It was supposed to happen, and I think in some way it's kind of a coming up to us like a tsunami as such.
So, since you mentioned that it was supposed to happen, and we need to go along with it, for it, it does not change the fact that there is going to be a lot of job losses, and these job losses are for the greater good, of course, and in the end, it's going to result in something really nice. But still, people will be already are losing their jobs and will be losing their jobs too. So, for any professional, what are the kind of skills or anything that a person should equip themselves with in order to lessen their chances of losing their jobs, to go along with this uh, technology, to go along with AI? What are the basic kind of skills that a person should, uh, any college students or any person should aim for, so that they are able to uh, go with the future?
The first thing which I would suggest anyone would be that start being open in terms of understanding what it is. Do not be kind of a very I mean, like, don't be flooded with a lot of resistance against these kind of tools or the revolution which is happening through. Just be open. What the beautiful factor is that beautiful thing about this is that you don't have to be particularly skilled about the entire AI as such. You can pick a tool, a language, a kind of a web frame which directly impacts your work. Just try to play around with it more often. So this is something which we started doing it even in our office, right? Even though we are a tech team, we have been doing this kind of a work for the last 6 to 7 years in the company, and people are all very very skilled and they know how to make usage with a lot of tools and etc. So, but the moment when AI actually came in through, this kind of a negativity has kind of a creeped in into our team also. So what we started doing it is every day in the morning we actually have these stand-up calls, and after our stand-up call, immediately we go around the table and start discussing about what are the AI tools which they're seeing, how does it how does it work out, and is there any use cases which we need to adopt to? Is there something which we have learning to? Should we? Do you think that we can actually use it more often? Can we buy a license out of it? Other people, can they use it? Is there any use cases? So we discuss about this, going round robin among each of us, to make sure that the idea is that we need to be open to understand what is the new technology which is coming up. Firstly, to your field, take up anything and try to discover more, go depth into it, try to see that can it help me out. Okay, last time I have been doing this kind of a work with around 3 hours of an effort or 5 hours of an effort, can it bring down to 10 minutes or 20 minutes of time? Is that really affecting it? What is the quality issues which are coming? So this way we are boiling the ocean, trying to find out the different kind of a tools which are available, trying to test it out and understanding about it with each other. Then we are also keeping ourselves very very open, and sometimes when we like it, we are actually adopting to it faster. So it doesn't mean that I have to like something which is out of my field. I am only looking at some things which can impact my own work, which can help me in a better way. So that is the first way of trying to be open and trying to make sure that you are getting self trained to it. Now, so this goes with the everyone who's a youngster who might be just starting their jobs or who might be in their jobs from a long time right now. The idea is just be open, just try out something. You can go onto online, you can find any, next time when you go for a tool, you can just type on Google that instead of just asking it to make a presentation or directly going to your Google Slides and making a presentation, just go to Google and try to type that want to make presentations AI tool. That's about it. The AI tool thing at the last end is the most important. Just try, and there'll be certain kind of a things which will actually open up for you. Open it up, try to see if that can actually help your work more better. When you start liking it is when you start learning about it. When you will understand its limitations first. That's the human mentality, right? The more we understand the vulnerabilities of the tool faster, we are more comfortable in terms of using the tool. The more we understand the limitations of the tool, the more faster we are able to use that tool. So firstly, be open into it, go try to understand what are the vulnerabilities, try to make jokes out of it, doesn't matter. But then when you start using it, when you feel comfortable with it, you are going to start adapting to it slowly, and it becomes a part of your nature in terms of it. Then coming to specifically, if someone wants to specifically learn and go very deeper into it, right? You can go to this website called futuretools.io. There are a lot of tools categorized based on uh, premium, paid, subscribed versions, and etc. And you can start looking at those ones. If not, if you want to develop your own thing, the best one which works out with these with the current kind of a set is Python. Knowing Python helps you greatly with machine learning. It's easier to do with it. So learning Python is it's and also by the way it's very simple. Also you can take a 1 month course and something like that. But mostly it depends upon how much time do you dedicate yourself for writing a project on your own without using the internet. If you are able to do it without a syntax error, that's about it. You're done. You're good. It doesn't take more than a month or something. You can take free courses on Udemy or something, and you can start learning Python and start doing it. The other interesting aspect, so AI tools is just the layer on top of it. Like if you've used ChatGPT, you've just started at a very basic layer of what AI is. There's nothing more on much deeper about an AI ChatGPT. Below a ChatGPT is where your AI tools are, and below the AI tools is where your entire lab LLM models are. LLM is large language models. Which is the defining factor, which is the language with which these tools have been built, or even your chat GPT is being built. So the interesting part is there are a lot of you can actually build your own kind of an LLM tool right now. I know there's a lot of infrastructure cost if you want to, or maybe you can even adopt to something which is open also. So if you've heard the term called Llama or Llama 2, which is released by Facebook, you can just type LLAMA, Llama 2, and you'll find an entire libraries about that by Facebook, open source. It's on GitHub right now, and you can just follow those instructions. The moment you're good with Python, you can just follow those instructions, run it on you will be able to create your own chat GPT kind of an instance. And that's exactly what we actually did a month ago. And it's working out. I'll talk about it more in depth at a later point. I hope this
So,
answers your questions, but if you think that I missed out on any the point, let me know.
for just to reiterate everyone, you can refer to futuretools.ai,
IO.
where uh, yeah .io, where you can get access to all the different AI tools available at your disposal, and you'll be able to see all the versions of it, free versions, paid versions, and the kind of subscriptions there are, and it could be really useful for everyone. So moving on, Fani, could you share with us your journey across multiple industries and roles? Because when you probably started your professional journey, the hype about AI probably wasn't even there. But now, over time, you have transitioned into multiple roles, and now you're at a point in time where you are more or less an expert on AI. You are dealing with tech marketing. So, how was your journey like? How was that transition like for you?
So, as such, like every other individual at that point of time, I kind of aspired. I got into computer science branch in BITS Pilani, and coming out of it, I actually, I mean, like I wasn't much in love with computer science by the time I came out of it. But the thing is that I had a good inclination towards it, and so my first journey, I actually went towards sales and marketing, and I actually started out my own company where we were trying to do more of an offline kind of a business. It worked out very well. And after a couple of years, I kind of came back to India in 2016, 2017. And that's where more of this kind of a journey increased towards. I joined a company which was Kore.ai, which was making a conversational AI chatbot. Basically, the chatbots which you see on the websites right now, we were way ahead of it our time at that point of time. It was very difficult to make a chatbot. It used to take a lot of time. It used to take around 1.5 year to 2 years to actually build a chatbot for a company. So we were in that field and we were doing pretty good in terms of targeting the big industries or the big kind of a company. So companies like a Pepsi would be our customer. That's about it, right? Because they have multiple centers and they had very vast scope and there's a lot of documentation and there's a lot of customization which could have been done. So we were into a chatbot industry firstly, and from there I kind of a transition to the next phase where I went to was becoming a management consultant. So I was vice president of sales. I was working for a management consulting firm, and because I was working for a consulting firm, I was kind of handling a lot of projects of all these big players. So Big Basket was my client, Swiggy was my client, Flipkart was my client. So I was literally doing their fundraising. I was trying to help them connect with the investors. I was trying to make sure that their business plans and etc. were right, right? I did Oyo's business plan also, or their entry market to China at that point of time. So I was working on that basically. So the idea was that when we were doing all of that, we understood how much of a significance they were emphasizing on technology. They were trying to put it out in terms of streamlining their aspects of the work. So we understood more deeply about their supply chains, their procurements, kind of a channels. We understood about their unit economics and etc. So there was a lot more interest at that point. We started growing. I started growing a lot more deeper interest in terms of how we can start building tools which can help these people to streamline their activities much better. From there I actually started out. So AI was already existent at that time, but it was in a very native phase. So whatever used to come out, we used to try it out. The idea was that let's try to see a tool outside and try to see, go check out GitHub and try to see is there any other repositories which are already available. Can we build something like that on our own internally and stuff like that? So it was all a self journey. I started learning my own code. I started learning coding myself. I started looking at YouTube videos to learn a lot more stuff. I started looking at GitHub. I started looking at Reddit, basically to read about how other people are kind of solving their problem statements, etc. So it was more of reading myself and trying to ape those experiments on my local system and trying to see if it works through. Essentially my pathway led to me working in Zeta, and Zeta may I was taking care of developer experience. I started out with developer experience as a one person, and then later on I hired another. Now 8 people work with me together. We are a part of 9 people now, and all of us, what we do is that we work on different aspects. We do on engineering, but essentially what we try to do is that not just to do a similar kind of a landing pages or a website or just build a straightforward tool, right? We always try to see if we can actually introduce tools and try to see if we can enhance that entire thing much better.
Yes, I have enabled public chat so people can interact, and if they have any doubts or any questions, they can type it in there. Moving on, now that you're working at Zeta in marketing, I want to understand what's the potential future of AI, especially in marketing.
In marketing, so we started out in the same way, and we started discovering that there can be a lot more things which we can build right now in marketing itself. So daily activities in the marketing field would be to build landing pages, to make websites, designs, the videos of those ones, images, and etc. SEO marketing would actually come through it. Digital marketing would actually be adding to it, and etc. Right? So these are the daily activities, and then we started seeing that can we fasten up our work or may improve the quality of our work with coming through with introduction of AI tools. So the I see the potentiality in our work. It would be on data analysis and insights. They are working out pretty well in terms of helping us with the data analysis of our work. We are able to hyper personalize our entire landing pages or our reach outs to the customers through the AI tools based on the landing pages. We are auto generating content. ChatGPT is one of them. Bard is another one. Claude 2 is something which I'm just experimenting right now. It was recently released in the US and UK market. I'm trying to see it through VPN. Then we have built chatbots and virtual assistants right now. So that's something which happened in the last 1 month, the major project which I talked about, which we built. We are doing a lot of predictive marketing to understand what our customer is kind of currently thinking of, what is their industry problem. Can we get into that kind of understanding and put out a message out them so that they can easily connect with us on those ones. Yeah, so these are some of the fields in which we have already started um, going deeper in terms of marketing as such. On the chatbot project, so essentially what we did was, me, because I came from that industry earlier, and because the technology has become much more easier right now, so I used a lot of I went around, I tried to search. Our problem statement was like this, right? We had we basically had we are into the banking industry, which means our content or the data is very secure. We can't keep it on a private server. We can't keep it on a chat gpt and ask it for solving it. Chat gpt is never something which we need to we shouldn't be using it at all, because chat gpt shares information with the external world. So what we did was, we went around, we found an entire open project which was available. We started downloading that entire project, we started training that chatbot, we introduced a lot more fine tuning to it. We introduced other integrations like transformers and etc. to it. And we started uploading our documents to start training it. Now our chatbot actually works without an internet. It works on the system anywhere across. All my team members who've installed it on their system can start using it for finding information which is available on a website, right? We'll be able to ask for our leaves. We'll be able to ask for what is the company policies and etc. It will rephrase that answers. It will give me in point wise inside entirely, and it will start giving me even the resources from where those links, from where it took the information from. And then finally I can even do call actions, like say share it with someone or take a screenshot of it and etc. And I can give it a feedback also, so that it can keep learning on it. So all of this literally happened in the last 1 month of time. It was an experimental project and worked out very well. Now soon it will be launched to the rest of the company also, and everyone in the company, I've already seen a screenshots of it and they've kind of loved it. Now we'll actually be pushing it to them so that they can take it much more forward. So
Uh,
that was one major project which happened for us
so
recently.
these chatbots are for external clients, or are these for the internal company mechanism?
So we started it out for internal. We started solving it for our HR policies. We for everyone to know about HR policies, and etc. And the second thing is that now we are extending it to our one of our company products information also. There will be a chat bot on top of it, and it'll start information searching. Soon we will be introducing it to make it a place where I should be able to ask. What are the different things which I can do with this website, or I'm writing a code. Basically, essentially, imagine like this: there are the company is huge. There are a lot of people writing different codes. There are a lot of products in the company, right? And but all of them communicate with a central server itself, right? So now I'm writing a code and I want to download some libraries from somewhere, or I want to get some information from somewhere, right? I the tool now, because it's learning on the websites, it's getting information. It will slowly start generating on top of it that, hey, I think you're stuck over here because you need to download this library, and I just have to go and download it. That's going way ahead in terms of it suggesting me what to do than me asking for it to do something.
That's too advanced for our imaginations right now, but yeah, pretty interesting. So, sticking to the topic, how do you think in future AI will be affecting workspaces?
So it'll make it you cannot do redundant work anymore. You can't be a copywriter. You can't be a website designer anymore. You cannot be just an image designer anymore. You cannot be doing anything which is repetitive and very mundane. You should be coexisting with technology now. You should be using those technology and start working along with it, right? It could be giving you it should be helping you out with uh, tre- uh, do your normal regular task in a much better way, right? and we should think about in that direction completely through. Otherwise, you're lagging behind. You cannot think about that. Okay, I learned through this book. Let me implement that book information over here. It's not anymore relevant. Your graduation degrees are not relevant anymore. Your MBA degrees are not relevant anymore. It's always about how much of a real world exposure do you have. So if you think that it is very difficult for you to code, for you to learn programming and etc., why do I have to do it? It's absolutely fine. There are lot of things which are no code, absolutely zero code. You don't have to learn any more coding at all. A lot of tools can be done. If at best, go look at YouTube itself. Go check out YouTube. You'll find a lot more information over there. Try to get that information, start using it on your own platform, on your own systems. That's enough. I don't really think that you need to, because even traditional programmers' jobs are going to get affected with this right now. So it doesn't mean that it's so there is no safety for them. So forget about them giving you an advice. The best advice would be that learn, try to implement it immediately. You saw a new tool, you liked it, go check out some YouTube channels. There are some amazing YouTube channels, even something which I think Indian audience is going to connect with. There's something which Tanmay Bhatt is kind of hosting called Overpowered. They kind of show up a lot of tools and everything, right? Go check it out. Actually, it's very interesting. It's very happening through right now. You'll learn. There are a lot of jokes which been being made. You just have to go, and most of that what they're trying to use is no code. So you just have to. It's all about your creativity. If you are able to increase your creativity in terms of coming out with newer ways of doing a work, that will help you to grow through. You don't as long as your creativity keeps increasing, this will be coming along with it, and you're all good, you're all safe, you're able to type different markets. So try to increase your creativity by looking at something and try to see, oh, can I try it out in a different way. One that reminds me, and I don't know if I wanted to say it out today, but yeah, we have been experimenting on this is something which we've started doing it, right? This is a personal project. So basically, we've started experimenting. One of the thoughts, which was after looking at watching a movie, was like, can we bring the emotions of a dead person alive? So what we did was that, okay, what we can do is that we can start training. This is voice generated reality, right? Voice generated it's something called voice-based interactive intelligence or something like that it's called. So basically you can start training a person to use an application for 15-20 minutes. Use just application, just talk or just keep it aside and talk, do your gupshup, do your talking, react to it when you're talking about it, emoting to it, do all of that. It will learn on its own. And later point of stage, maybe your dead grandfather or your great grandfather, and you want they have done this, you can start asking that question of how would this person react. So you can go and talk to the machine saying that, can you tell me an advice, and it will mimic and understand the emotions of that person because he's spoken for such a long time. So its emotional quotient is being calibrated through. The advice would come in the same in the same tone as that person, and even the person's intelligence also based on the person's intelligence, right? So because our intelligence is basically our accumulation of our experiences, our emotions which we go through in a daily life. That is what our intelligence is all about. So if we can actually capture that, we thought, okay, this would be more interesting. So I think this is something in a different direction altogether. But yeah, we started trying to do along those lines as well.
But has something like this been ever done before?
In a different parts and bits and parts ways, it's been done. If you look at this movie called Time Machine, it happened, I think it released in 2000, in in that year, 2000s year, early 2000s or late 2000s, I think. um, if you look at that movie, it will talk about how the world will look like 2100, 2200 or 2300, I think. That's what they were talking about. And it's basically a hologram which is coming over there, and it'll be a librarian trying to tell you the experiences. Now imagine, instead of that hologram, you actually have Mahatma Gandhi himself as a hologram, and him talking about his own life himself. And if you've added even his emotions also through it, it will be much more interactive. So already this has been predicted. How depth can this go is right now being happening because of the kind of a current advancements.
So I think it's a good place to actually move on to the audience questions since we already have received a lot. Starting with the person who raised their hand, Priyal Jindal. The question is, how do you think AI can be used to transform offline marketing?
So in the offline, when you're coming to offline marketing, right, you have predictive marketing comes under offline marketing itself. Hyper personalization will come under offline marketing for you. I'm talking about the way in which it can be done. When you are trying to interact with a person to person kind of scenarios, right? So when you can actually bring in hyper personalization to whatever you're trying to sell, whatever you're trying to captured through, that becomes more easier to actually sell it to that person, right? Or to pitch the idea to the person, it becomes more easier for that person to actually work out with. Even in offline marketing, we use a lot of data analysis and insights. If you look at now and these days, the tools are becoming pretty accurate in terms of understanding where the demographic is, what are the previous patterns of buying history which has happened through, and how exactly can we alter the pricing or the demand or the supply, or how can we try to personalize an item to hit that specific demographic market. It's becoming very accurate in that kind of a sense. There are a lot of micro signals which are being coming out right now because of that, because of in that direction right now. So I think there is already this is a pattern which is already going into that direction. But yeah, because you left it as a very transform offline marketing, it's a very broader term. If you have a specific industry which you want me to specifically tell you about, just mention it, and I'll try to develop more better in terms of taking those examples for you.
So, Priyal, the public chat is still open, so you can put down if you have a particular industry related to which you want this question to be answered. And until then, we'll move on to the next question. So, Rishi asks, how can smaller companies with limited resources best leverage AI for their operation? I think this is a very common, like, this is something that a lot of organizations are wondering.
Big, small, money, no money, don't even care about that right now. As I mentioned, when I gave you that link about futuretools.io, you actually have free tools. You have tools which are premium, subscribe, and etc. etc. You can still use free tools and you can get it done, right? Otherwise, also, for the chatbots which I built, or the work which we are doing, we did a video to text, we did a text to image, we did a image to PPT, we did an image to videos, and etc. We built all of these tools, and for this, none of this I had actually had any budget. I went with a zero budget. I actually built all the tools on my own. You just have to look at the GitHub repositories and etc. and try to follow those instructions. And later on, as you keep learning it, you'll be able to fine tune it much better. You'll be able to install transformers much better and etc. You'll know what the kind of models need to be used and etc. So it doesn't. There's no barricade in terms of costing at all in this field anymore. You don't require money. Like, even if say you think that ChatGPT is expensive, $20 is difficult, or even their APIs are actually damn expensive. It's expensive, then move on, go to Bard. Google Bard does a very good job. Claude 2, which is not launched in India yet, but it's doing a very good job right now. You have many other tools, like you can literally use Microsoft Bing, which has already ChatGPT powered into it, and start using that tool. So I think you just have to be open in terms of trying to find it out. There are a lot of tools which are actually doing it. If you think that something is very costly right now, just wait for a month, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a free version of that coming out very soon, very fast. So um, cost of a company, or the small, big, and everything is not the barricade at all. It's only about spend at least 4 or 5 hours properly in a day, at least for a week, in terms of figuring out in this direction, to see what are the problem statements and how can it be solved. If you are able to do it at least for a week, you'll get addicted, by the way, and you'll be able to do it much faster.
I did not imagine that text to image could be possible as well without and like with free of cost because Mid Journey and similar platforms, they usually charge for their
Oh,
services.
you can use Stable Diffusion, by the way. Stable Diffusion is free, and Stable Diffusion is one of the topmost rated image text to image generative platforms right now in the world. Midjourney comes next. Stability AI guy is literally after everyone's lives in terms of their jobs. So the founder is like a very what is it, pessimistic in terms of how the outlook of the world is going to look like. So I think
Okay.
just to get Stable Diffusion, if you want, there are like so many tools. At the end of it, I'll just put it up in the chat, and everyone can go ahead and just try to look at it. A bunch of tools which are free. You don't have to look at it. Midjourney is, by the way, Midjourney is still free. It's just that you don't get space on their server anymore because it's always crowded. People are like very much
Hmm.
rushing onto it. So that's why it's kind of a it's that scenario. But otherwise, you can still use Midjourney. You can still use Stable Diffusion. Um, there are a bunch of them, man. Very much. There are a lot of tools. Just go to this futuretools.io. I think I've given you a directory itself now. You can
Yeah.
just go there and type it, and you'll get something or the other which is for free. I don't know.
All right. So moving on, Sanjeev asked, as someone who has worked with developer relations, how crucial is it for developers to equip themselves with knowledge and skills related to AI?
Developers need to now very much get acquainted with AI right now because developer relations as a function is not a very recognized function in India. It's been growing up right now, upwards. It's been there in the last 20 years outside the world, outside India, but in the last 10 or 5 years, it's been introduced to India, and it's kind of a growing in its kind of outlook, right? So when we speak to developers also, see, the idea is that now either you have to be very expert in that specific function domain. Like say, if you're talking to a backend engineer, you're an expert in backend, or if you're talking to a front end engineer, you're an expert in front end and etc. And understand their kind of a work and be able to guide them through. If you're not, the only alternate way is you can come a little bit tangential and try to start telling them that, hey, I understand, I think I understand your problem. I do not know how to solve it, but there is this AI tool which actually looks very promising for me. Why don't you look at it and etc. So that is a direction in which you can take it as a tangential. But essentially, what we do for the developers is that we actually go with their problem statement, try to add them another tool which actually becomes a bridge between their work and their expected output. It kind of becomes a bridge. Like say something we are wasting a lot of times, we try to add them into a pipeline which can actually make their work much more easier. But you don't have to keep doing these kind of things which are very smaller in nature and keep becoming or making it iterative, because sometimes or the other it's going to fail. It's like this hose of pipe where the water is flowing through, and you have holes coming up, and then you're trying to fix it with a patch. Not every time it's going to work. So rather you would actually start suggesting that, no, I think we need to change our direction in terms of how the product needs to be utilized or how the product needs to be envisioned. And that's where developer relations actually come in through and try to give them the ideas. And you being more hands-on with AI is going to give them more better because they have less time to explore these tools, and we actually have much more time in terms of exploring them, trying to fit that into their work culture, and then actually going in tangential and trying to put it as an enforcement in terms of them utilizing it to the best.
Jivant asks, I belong to a non technical background. What skills should I develop and from where to keep up with the future industry changes?
First skill, if you are non-technical and you're creative, then congratulations, you're much better than everyone else. Because that's human intelligence and creativity is something which is actually the most important thing. And you asking this question itself is another great thing to actually happen through right now, right? Because you've realized that something you can actually bridge the gap. So that itself is also a great kind of an initiative on that. So congratulations on that. Now, the third thing which you can do is that, or the first thing which you can do is that you can go to YouTube maybe if you like it. Okay, whatever is your kind of a field of work. I'm sorry you did not mention it over there. So if your field of work maybe is a sales, I was from sales. I did a lot of field sales, and I've did a lot of online sales as well. So if you're from the sales kind of a segment, right? I know cold calling is one thing which is happening through. Okay, there's a lot of email writing which is happening through. There's a lot of say presentations making, Excel making, and etc., which is happening through. That's about it. So these are things which you do. You're typical. If I'm just taking it as example that you're sales. I'm sorry if you're from another field. You can mention it. Maybe I'll change my answer to it. But say if you're from sales, these are the things which are not exactly your work time, right? You were supposed to do something else. You're actually supposed to think about selling and etc. Yes, I have marketing background. All right, okay. So marketing also in the same way. If you're supposed to be say doing product comparisons and etc., but here you are expected outlines. You are unnecessarily wasting a lot of time in terms of PPT making, or your time. You're wasting your time in terms of trying to do image search, trying to do video to image conversions or transcriptions and etc. I think now you can start using any of these AI experiments to start making sure that your regular mundane tasks, which are not exactly your work field, but which are affecting your work, I know those become 80% of your work, and 20% is what you're trying to do with marketing. So I think those 80% can be cut down so that you get more time in terms of making sure that you can concentrate on this work now. So what you can do is that one, go look at for every problem statement you have, try to google it and try to see if there is something which can actually work out. Try to read about it on the read about it on medium.com. There's a lot of articles which are there. There's also one more very interesting article, interesting channel called generative AI, which is there on LinkedIn. If you're following that group, just go there and you'll find a lot of information about different other people's experiments and etc. coming up, right? Apart from it, you can just look at YouTube channels. Let's look at what are the ways in which your fellow marketers are trying to change the world right now. I also belong to marketing right now, and I look at it a lot every day in the morning. And when I keep myself updated with it, and when I find something very useful, very really necessary to my world, I immediately adopt to it and I start doing those experiments. Like it could be anything, right? If they tell me tomorrow that, hey, you can write emails much faster on Bard, I immediately start using Bard and I start writing emails. I'll try to see if that can help my work much faster. Or if they say, tell me that there's another tool which is there, I just go to it and just type these questions and try to see, hey, can it do it my work very faster or not? If it does, then I start doing all my work from that itself. So that those things which I don't require, I don't do it. Like today, I'm sorry to say it, but yeah, today Swapnil and me were discussing about this conversation, and Swapnil, I only pitched to Swapnil, like, do you need a presentation? And Swapnil is like, if you have it, then yeah, share it. So I went to this tool called Tome, to TOME, it's called, and I just pressed type that this is the topic. It gave me a presentation of 15. I then typed another topic. It gave me another 15 slides. I removed few slides. I made it. I put them into a presentation. Send it to him as an export as a PDF. I done. So that entire presentation, sorry for that, Swapnil, but the presentation which you're seeing, I haven't done any of that. I just went over there, I took it up because information is something which I already have, but to show it to someone, to just to have something as a background right now when I'm speaking, I thought, okay, that would do justification.
All right. So although you did mention that it was created by AI, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, so I hope Jivant, it answered your question. I think last question, Bhavtosh, is it actually necessary to follow this AI trend and start thinking about where should I implement AI tools into my website?
Uh, Bhavtosh, so is it necessary to follow it? No, definitely no. Um, but could but please do be accepting in terms of that it's happening through. So you adopting to it necessarily, like, uh, you can do some things very faster, right? Like say even today also I can do my documentations much faster than even my tool, because sometimes my thought process, I want to write in a particular structure, it depends upon my situation, how I want to defend it and etc, right? So it's not necessary that you need to use it, but the thing is I know that there is something which is there. So tomorrow if I lack time, or if I think that something else is more important to me to be done, or I can add these things as a requisite, like say if I'm giving work to someone, right? I immediately go and I try to type an entire documentation about how exactly the structure needs to look like and etc. I mean, like I basically ask the tool to do it for me. it gives me an entire structure about it. I take that structure and I send it off to people, and they start adopting to it. By the way, very interestingly, my friends from civil services right now, one is an IAS officer, one is an IFS officer, and they actually do the documentations themselves by through ChatGPT right now. They ask it for a structure on whatever documentation, like say if it's about price quotations, they ask what are the parameters needs to happen and etc. And then they send it to their auditor. That guy will start filling it up and etc. and then come back. The reason is that it's not that that guy doesn't know it. He's more experienced than even my friends are. He's been there in that seat for the last 30 years of time. And it's not that his job is going to get lost also. It's a permanent job, right? He's in government sector. But the thing is, it just makes our life easier to give exactly what my thought process is. It helps me to explain my problem better to the other person. So that's how you need to use it. It's not a compulsion that you need to just put it out, put it in somewhere, plug it somewhere where it needs to be. It need not be. You can actually keep it wide open, and it's fine. It's all fine.
So
But
thank you so
just be open. Open. Just sorry to cut you. But just be open that this is happening, and you can learn something about it. That's it. So,
I think yeah, like people need to accept the fact that it is inevitable, it's gonna happen, because when Chat GPT just came into picture, people were like, okay, I don't understand this because I don't want the most basic of questions or anything to be entirely dependent on technology. And now the situation is that people have to see that it is the future. Like they have to accept that even the most basic things will need to be done by Chat GPT, will need to be done by technology, because you're competing with others who are working on the same thing using technology, and they are creating better results. And in order to be able to compete with them, you need to accept and utilize it to the best way possible. So yeah, I thank you so much for this amazing session. We are short on time, and hence we weren't able to even cover a few questions. But yeah, this conversation can go on and on for hours altogether. But for now, thank you so much, Fani, for this amazing session, and thank you so much for your valuable time, Fani.
thanks a lot, Swapnil. And through you, if the audience is willing, then I'll just send you a list of the tools which I normally use to, and maybe they'll start accepting it and they'll start using it. It might help them out. And thanks for listening to me.